Oh yes, I'd be excited too, because today we have a build and I'm actually going to finish it in this whole video. That hasn't happened for a minute. So today is a particularly good one. I had a lot of fun building this bike and it was a little bit different, and I want to go into why. Now, I've built a lot of parts bin commuters over the years. It's pretty much almost all I build. But something that a lot of you are often surprised by is the fact that all my bikes are pretty much for myself. I don't build to sell them really. I build them to ride them, use them, and then they either get dismantled or I sell parts of them. But generally they just stay with me. Something I've come to realise over the last few months is my bikes pretty much look all the same, and I suppose that's a good thing because it means I have kind of a style and a go-to build. If you look at some other YouTubers on YouTube, a lot of them build very similar stuff. So the fact that a lot of my bikes look the same is possibly a good thing. But the thing that I was realising is the fact that it's kind of boring for myself to essentially build the same thing week over week, slightly different, but essentially it's a 26-inch mountain bike with either knobbly or smooth tyres that I ride around in the city. That's about it. Don't get me wrong, I have at least a handful of bikes in mind right now that I want to build that are exactly what I've just described, but it was nice to step away from it. So the thing that I'm going to try my best to do this year is build bikes for other people, whether that be build them to sell them or find someone who wants me to build them a bike and then build it to their spec. So hopefully by the end of this year we would have had a much different, or a vastly different, or a very different selection. There's a sentence there about the fact that we'll have a load of different bikes. You can piece it together yourself, but I think you get the point that I'm making. This year is a different year for builds. I'm not going to be just building 26-inch mountain bikes, as much as that'll be a big part of my year. We're going to build lots of different things, so why not we brush off the cobwebs of all the other types of bikes that I've built over in the past, and let's start the year with a 700C town bike. So this is a Specialized Crossroads that one of my long-term followers, Adam, was like, yo, I've got this frame, it's been sat around for a very long time, can I donate it to you to do something cool with? And I was like, absolutely. Funny story actually, his dad works up the road from where I live, so he was like, I'll give it to my dad and he'll leave it in a very top secret location so you can go and find it and pick it up. It was very secret. First things first, this thing was a little bit spiderwebby and bit grubby from the shed, so I give it a good old wipe down. I did think about doing some like T-cut on it to kind of like bring some shine back into it, but after putting some of this JL69 on there, it kind of brung out some of that shine anyway, and it was super scratched up in places, and I'm putting some crusty parts on it, so I felt like it needed to stay a little bit crusty. So yeah, this was enough. Being a Specialized from the 90s, I had no idea what size the seat post was going to be. I knew that I used this seat post in a rock hopper a year or two back, so I grabbed it in the shed on the off chance it would work, and to my surprise it did. Now it's being held by the seat post, I can clean this last little bit, and then I think we're ready to put some parts on it. Being 700C, I did not have any wheels for it, so I found these on eBay. I think they were about 30 quid, maybe a little bit less. I got them really cheap, and then the tyres are, and I think I might be saying this wrong, but Chaoyang gravel, just gravel tyres. I think they're like 40C, something like that, but they're pretty good all-rounders, so I was hoping it'd be they'll be good for what we're doing basically. We're going 9-speed for this. So this is a 9-speed cassette that came on another set of wheels that I recently bought actually. But once I tightened it up, it was still a little bit wobbly, which was well annoying because I didn't have any spacers with me. But I went through my toolbox and happened to find this, which was crazy lucky. Popped it on and now it's solid, no movement. Now on to some skewer action, and if you've seen my stories on Instagram this week, you would have seen me showing off this new grease gun I've got that I filled up with the new slick juice from Juice Lubes, and they were nice enough to send me some packaging stickers so that I could brand it. I'm very chuffed with it. It's kind of doesn't make a difference, but it makes a difference to me. Yes, that's definitely too much, but I'm enjoying using my new toy, okay? So leave it out, and I'm just going to try and probably end up having to wipe most of that off with a rag in a second. But I'm having fun. We're keeping it crusty, we're keeping it retro, so I'm putting these narrow bars that are attached to this quill stem on the front. The bars make perfect sense because this is a town bike. It's for running through London traffic, getting past the buses and stuff, so that narrowness is going to be perfect. The quill stem was just because I wanted it to look cool and retro and old. I could put converter on here and stuff, but like I'm not a massive fan of those these days. Moving on to the bottom bracket, which was very clean on the inside, which makes me very hopeful from the condition of the inside with all the tubing as well. I think this bike's probably got a lot of life left in it, which is good. Now, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here because I made a boo-boo. I popped this crank set on there thinking it would be quite good to have a nice big gear for riding through the city. The one thing I didn't think about was the fact that you can see on the rear end now, I've popped the derailleur on there, and it's a 9-speed cassette. This front chainring doesn't accept a 9-speed chain. It accepts a single-speed chain. So the chain doesn't fit. But it just so happened I had this instead. But I think this is probably the better choice anyway. It's much more battered up and kind of in keeping with the scratches and stuff that's on this bike already. It's got the narrow wide chainring on it as well. It's 38, so it's still pretty decent size wise for the city. But yeah, I think it looks good. I'm not 100% fixed on the bolts. I may change them down the line, but let me know what you think in the comments. Do I keep the bolts? On that note, do I also keep the pedals? I had some like crappy black ones that I was going to put on there, but they were like really crappy. These green ones I happen to have with me. You can't quite see from here, but on the crossroads around the Specialized logos and stuff, there's a little bit of green that kind of matches these pedals, so I think I'm going to keep it. To my amazement, the chain was just about the right size. This is a chain that has been on another bike, so it is maybe had a few miles on it, nothing crazy. But I didn't really want to like buy a new chain for this whole bike, so I'm glad it fit. So I started working on the cockpit at this point. I put the shifter on there, and at this stage I wasn't 100% convinced on the length of the stem, so I thought it might be best to get the saddle on there and take it for a little spin around the car park to see how it felt. Not sure where I acquired this saddle from. Not really isn't my style. I mean, I actually do quite like it now I've ridden it a little bit, but it's definitely more suited for this bike because this bike is fast. Remember, that's what we're going for here. It's a fastest bike. So I took it for a little ride. I look a bit weird on this bike right now. It's mainly because of the fact that I'm stuck in one gear, but it felt really different. It was nothing like anything I normally build, especially not the bikes I'm building for myself. It's the narrowness of it, the twitchiness of it, but it felt good. After a few laps and kind of, you know, riding it around, I got used to it and I really liked it. But I needed to kind of remember that, like, this isn't my bike. I need to be inspired by the bike itself, inspired by the crust. That sounds like a sticker. I mean, that wasn't subtle at all, was it? But yes, we're going to quickly talk about stickers. Not only have we a big restock of the polished turd, the warning, this bike was built for fun, please ride irresponsibly, and this bike is not safe for work and may be inappropriate to view. This one was quite popular over Christmas. We have 2 brand new stickers. Inspired by the crust. It was something I kept saying to someone recently and they were like, that needs to be a sticker. I have a bunch of bikes at the moment in the shed that, like, I am inspired by their crustiness and, like, I'm desperate to build them because of how rotten the frames are. And it's just that I think this is what I'm going to put my year to. This philosophy I'm going to live to this year is focus on the crustiness of the bikes. It's what kind of birthed this channel a couple of years ago, and we want to get back to that. There's a few kind of polished, nice bikes on the way. There's some very out there projects as well, but, like, let's get back to nitty gritty of the crustiness of these bikes and build some fun things. So that's why we have introduced the Inspired by the Crust, which I feel that a lot of you live by that as well. So as always, you can find them on saveourbikes.com. There's loads available at the moment. I've restocked a bunch of the favourites. There's some Save Our Bike stickers on there as well. There's loads of stuff. Most we've had in ages. So it supports the channel massively, helps me out so much. Thank you so much for everybody who purchased my stickers. And I know a lot of you purchase them, like, all the time. Thank you to all of you. It means a lot. Back to the Crossroads. Funny story, whilst I was preparing this bike and getting all the bits from the shed, I spent a hideous amount of time looking for bolts for the brakes. Spent most of my morning looking for them. Finally found some which I wanted to use for something else, so I was a bit annoyed about it. Got to putting the brakes on and there was already bolts on the frame, so thanks Adam, massive. That helped me out a lot. Sound like I'm being sarcastic about you should have said something. I'm not saying that at all, but you know, genuinely well excited when I found them. We're going for V brakes on this bike because, you know, this is again for a city riding. It's for riding around London. You want to be able to stop on a dime, and I know that I can set these brakes up to do that. The frame would have shipped with canties and it's set up for canties. That bites us in the butt a little bit later on, which you'll see, but I still stand by. I'm happy with these V brakes. I know that you can set up canties to be amazing. I do it all the time, but there's something about this setup of V brakes, like I can just make them stop immediately. That's a good thing. Maybe everybody does this, maybe not, but I quite like setting up the brake pads before I kind of set up the brakes. Just using my hand to kind of hold the lever up and then positioning the blocks gives you a really good head start for dialing them in. Okay, now I'm set on this setup. Let's get the cockpit all set up as well. Starting with obviously the shifter, and then these levers, I'm not sure what they are. I know the Shimano, I think the bike they came from had like a DX setup. I'm not sure. If you have any ideas what these levers are from the very far distance that you're seeing right now, let me know in the comments below, but I'm pretty certain they're Shimano. The grips are Vans Waffles, but they're the lock-on ones, which are crazy expensive to be fair, so they're probably a bit too much for this bike, but I don't use them. They just live in the shed. I used them for a little while, but I much prefer my Def grips, so yes, they'll go on this bike nicely. At this point, I think is when I decided the pedals were really nice. I really wasn't sure about them when I first put them on there. Like I said, I had them in my box at Steyr for some other reason, but I just put them on here just because I needed something good for a minute, and I really like them, and you can see better now. There's just a little bit of green around the logos that kind of like just matches. I don't know, maybe I'm just trying to make it work, but I like it, I really do. You may have noticed then that I'm trying to thread the cable through the canty kind of cabling or routing on the bike. I didn't think this part through until this stage, but something I've done in the past is actually essentially married the cable up with an outer like this to kind of create a cable routing that goes all the way through, and then put some zip ties on there.
Chocolate cinnamon roll bread pudding.
Absolutely.
It's really good.
Break.
Yeah.
You seen this though, that because it had canties, didn't actually realise that. So it's not got a cable stop, so I've cable tied it on here. And you've got like, and it's covered as well. It's even better and bad weather. More protection. Looks brilliant.
Oh, it's gross, isn't it?
There's nothing wrong with it. It is perfect. We like it a lot. We do like it a lot. Well, I like it a lot, and I'm interested to know what you think. Should I just flip over to canties, or did my little bodge work? And I mean, it does work. The brakes work fine, but would you ride it like this? I'm interested to know. Well, after dialing in the front brake and getting that all set up, it was time to move over to the shifter. Naturally, the cable that I ordered didn't arrive, but naturally Sam had one knocking about, so we were good. I think I skipped this earlier. I did buy Altus for this bike and picked it up on eBay. I'm pretty sure the guy took it off his bike to upgrade it really early on in owning the bike. So it was basically brand new. Got it for 20 quid with the shifter on eBay. I think that was a bargain. I actually enjoyed setting up a derailleur and shifter that wasn't micro shift for a change. All I put on my bikes at the moment are Advent X's, so it was nice to kind of work on something different, and it took me a minute to kind of get it all indexed in nicely. It's funny how different they can be, but once I had it all dialed in nicely, I took it for another spin. This time I had some brakes as well, so I did a couple little skids, and it felt really, really nice. The wheels obviously massive, they should be 26 inch, but no, I'm joking. It felt great, and I was absolutely buzzing. Well, anyway, I suppose it's time to look at it. And that's that, and I've got to say I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. It was nice to challenge myself to do something a little bit different, as much as it kind of still has my flair on it. I definitely think it's still one of my builds, and I hope you agree, and let me know what you think. How different is it, or have I just built another one of my bikes just with bigger wheels? Do you know what I mean? But that does bring us to the end of the first build of 2025, which was super exciting. I have actually technically built other bikes already this year, but like they're not quite finished, or there's bits I'm waiting for before I can show them to you, and one of them I'm not allowed to show yet for reasons. So there's lots and lots of stuff coming. I'm probably going to build another bike this week, so next week's video will also be a build. Plus, I'm still dropping midweek videos when it comes to product reviews and just vlogging and stuff like that. I've actually got a video that I videoed on or filmed the same day that I made this bike. A little bit of a background look at what I was doing, kind of like something about the wheels. The wheels I bought off eBay, they looked kind of different when I actually purchased them, and I did some things to them. You'll see that in a few days' time. Either way, there's more videos coming. As always, lots of stuff happening. Feel free to head over to saveoldbikes.com, check out the new stickers. If there's anything you like, I'll send them to you. And that's that. If you are new to the channel from this video, welcome. We do builds all the time. We've got loads of bikes lined up. You found a good place to watch bike stuff. We do all sorts of things. The button here is actually to subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free, helps me out a bunch, and I make videos every single week. If you can't wait until the next video though, that one there is a particularly good one.